The Magic, Pistons, and Pacers are all fighting to see who can have the best rebuild in the East. There's only so many draft picks and trades out there to make. They all need to nail their moves. Right now, though, the Pistons are leading the race. Cade Cunningham is a no-doubt franchise player, which is the hardest thing to get right. But Orlando and Indiana have moves they can make this offseason that would put them ahead of the Pistons. First, though, let's get to the offseason basics for all three teams. Cap space. The Magic can have as much as $27 million, the Pacers about $18 million, and the Pistons will probably have $15 million bucks. Exceptions, the Magic and the Pistons have the $5.3 million room mid-level exception. The Pacers could have the full mid-level, the biannual, and two big trade exceptions. Needs, look, they all need depth, obviously, but the Magic need to get healthy. The Pacers need a power forward, and the Pistons need a point guard. Chance for the #1 overall pick. The Magic and the Pistons have a 14% chance. The Pacers aren't far off. Their best free agents, the Magic, Mo Bamba, the Pacers, TJ Warren and Jalen Smith, and the Pistons, Marvin Bagley III. How did they do last season? Well, the Magic just under their projected win total. Same with the Pistons, but the Pacers were super disappointing. Almost 20 wins worse than expected. First, let's talk about how the rebuild is actually going. The Pacers are just starting their rebuild after being mediocre for years. Can you believe they haven't had a top 9 draft pick since 1989? Well, finally, they're going to rebuild because all of their good players are on the trade market. They already started by dealing Domantas Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton, but they're gonna have some really fun trades that we'll discuss. The Pistons are already having the best rebuild with Cade and Saddiq Bey, who broke out this year. He's a good ISO scorer, and he scored 51 points with 10 threes against the Magic, who are really kind of in a weird spot. I mean, they picked Jalen Suggs 4th overall, which we all thought was a big win on draft night. But it turns out their other first-round pick last year was actually better. Franz Wagner was a Rookie of the Year candidate, but beyond that, it's just a bunch of question marks on their team. So the most important thing this offseason for every single franchise is the NBA draft. May 17th is when we find out where they are going to pick. The Magic and Pistons have an equal 14% chance at #1 overall. Indy right there at 10.5%. I think if the Magic win the draft, they should take Chet Holmgren. They already have a ton of young playmakers, so I think Jabari Smith and Paolo Banchero are kind of redundant. Chet is a rim protector who can catch lobs from his AAU and high school teammate Jalen Suggs, who also benefits. If the Pacers pick first, they should take Jabari Smith, who fills their young forward spot with outside shooting to play next to Miles Turner if they keep him. Jabari is also good defensively and a good pick and pop partner for Tyrese Halliburton. If Detroit picks first, I think they should take Chet, unless they do think that Marvin Bagley is their future. They need a lob threat for Cade. He also improves their three-point shooting and their defense, which were both awful last year. But the good news for every single team is they're probably going to have a top 4 pick. They all have needs in the front court, and this is a front court deep draft. So up next is trades, which will be huge for the Pacers. They have 3 starters they can trade to boost their rebuild. The Pistons might consider dealing Jeremy Grant, and I think Killian Hayes too, if they can upgrade at point guard. The Magic really just have Terrence Ross. So let's start the trade with the Pacers getting John Collins for Malcolm Brogdon and a 2024 lottery protected first. If Indy doesn't draft a forward, then I think John Collins is a great fit. He is on their timeline at 24 years old, and he's a really good athletic player for Rick Carlisle's system. Atlanta is in win now mode, and they get a veteran guard who can thrive next to Trae Young and take some of the workload off of Trae, which is key for him. We saw in the playoffs, the Heat were able to shut down Trae because he didn't have a guy like Malcolm Brogdon to defer to. What about the Pistons getting Colin Sexton for Jeremy Grant and a lottery-protected 2024 first? Sexton would be unleashed in Detroit with Cade's versatility, Bay's shooting, and Isaiah Stewart cleaning up any missed shots. He is such an upgrade over Killian Hayes. Look, I'm sorry if you're still on the Killian Hayes bandwagon. It's not going to happen. What they are missing is offensive production at that guard spot, and Sexton can create his own shot at a really efficient 24 points per game last season. The Cavs do this sign and trade because they're in win now mode, and Jeremy Grant is yet another two-way big. This trade depends, though, on two things. The first is Colin Sexton's health after he just had that knee injury that has to get checked out. And also his contract. Detroit can just absorb him into cap space for picks in a different kind of trade, or they could do a sign and trade with Jeremy Grant. Honestly, I don't see any really big trades for Orlando because all they have is Terrence Ross. But what they do have is a really big Mo Bamba decision. They threw shade at Mo already, choosing to extend Wendell Carter's contract, but not his. Then, after 3 disappointing seasons, Mo finally showed why he was taken 6th overall. He had about 2 blocks per game and 38% from 3. All it would take is for another team to just swoop in and pay him. I mean, the Magic can match any contract, but they have Jonathan Isaac coming back at center. And what if they take a center in the draft? If someone like the Spurs really want Mo Bamba, I think they can get him. The big decision for Detroit is what to do with Marvin Bagley III. They must re-sign him if they can't draft Chet Holmgren. Dude left Sacramento and immediately got better. Career high efficiency and minutes because he was actually healthy, and Bagley had chemistry with his new teammates. Reports say both Bagley and Detroit want to get a new deal done. And I think that deal should be around $10 million per year. And Detroit wants that to be a long-term contract. If I'm Bagley, I want it to be like a 2-year deal. That way he can bet on himself to finally get a big payday if he can ball out and stay healthy. But after they pay him, the Pistons will then have cap space. And I think they should get Jalen Brunson in free agency. He is exactly what they need as a point guard next to Cade, who provides leadership and obviously is a playoff performer. Reports say the Knicks and the Pacers also want to get Brunson, but the Pistons can price everyone out. Dallas would be stupid to pay a ton for Jalen Brunson because that would lock their roster in salary cap wise and prevent them from getting a true big star next to Luka later. Detroit, though, has the money, and Brunson raises their floor to at least like a play-in spot starting next year. At 25 years old, I think he is the perfect next piece for their rebuild. The Pacers, I don't think should focus really on any free agents this year. I would treat this as kind of a gap year to develop their young players. They've got Halliburton. I think Isaiah Jackson and Chris Duarte are promising. The only big decision really is on Miles Turner's contract. If he wants like a ton of money to stay in Indy, I would look for a trade to get even more talent for their rebuild. All right, so full disclosure, we're gonna have to do like several teams at a time for these off-season videos. I didn't want to do it this way, but the draft lottery is coming up and then the NBA draft, and there's no way to get like all 30 teams in by the time the draft comes. And so we're just gonna have to do like these videos where we do several teams at a time. I made that promise to do all 30 teams, and I think the decision was I can either lump several teams into one video, or I just break my promise and I don't do all 30 teams. So we will keep doing our off-season videos, and in the meantime, check out the off-season playlist to catch up on the teams we've already gone over.